No one likes copy and pasting the same information over and over again, at least to my knowledge. So we created this free tool here that will allow you to generate documents for each row added to a Google Sheet automatically, so you never have to copy and paste anything ever again. That's not true. You'll still have to copy and paste things, just not to create documents. So I was using this for quotes. I noticed this problem when I was generating quotes for clients, but I'm going to show you how this works really quickly. Then we'll dive into the setup process and how to get this up and running for yourself. So the first thing we have here is our template, and that's some standard general template that I just found online. So we're going to replace our name here and then our date, and then it's going to generate a new version of this for every row in our spreadsheet, which if we go back to our spreadsheet, we can see John and Mary both do not have a document for themselves yet. So we'll go over to our sidebar here, which you can access in the sidebar option, and then go ahead and click generate to generate both of those documents. And then once we are done generating those documents, it will populate an output URL here. And since we are generating a couple of them, it won't populate until both of them are done being created. And we should see that populate here. I just have to keep rambling until that finishes. There we go. Perfect. So we can see that Mary has her own document. Perfect. Mary, and then the date. And then if we open John here, John has his document as well, perfectly generated with the placeholders that we had set. So for the rest of the video, I'm going to show you how to go about getting this free tool for yourself and setting it up so that it can run without you. All right, so here we are in a new tab. We have the document generator open. I've logged in with a different account, so this is exactly what you'll see. You can get this document by navigating to the link in the description, but we need to take 2 steps before we can start using this for ourselves. The first thing we need to do is copy this over to our own account, so we'll make a copy, and then there will be a prompt that there is a script associated with this account. That's exactly, or with this sheet rather, that's how this app runs. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a copy of this. And then now we have full ownership over it, and then we need to take one more step before we can actually start generating documents from new rows in our Google Sheets. And once this loads, there will be a little bit of a delay from when the sheet itself loads and the menu option loads. And because I am recording a video, this has chosen to take even longer than typical, which is always a nice thing to have. But it looks like it actually opened, and we just need that menu option to load here, which it finally did. There we go. So now the only other step we need to take is running our open sidebar option here, which is the only option in the dropdown for the doc generator menu item. And then we just need to authorize our permissions. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then click continue, and then select all, because all of these permissions are required to run the app. I know that probably looks a little overwhelming, but it just needs a lot of access in order for it to view your drive, view your documents, send emails whenever errors happen, things like that. So just be aware that there are a lot of permissions, but it's really using a very small amount of those permissions overall. Anyways, I'll click continue. And then now we're ready to run our document generation. Once the sidebar fully loads, we can see that the only option available right now is to select our template, which I have one set up in Google Docs here. It's a pretty basic one. And what we need to do is, in the template, we need to establish where our variables are going to be inserted. So we do that with these curly braces and then the name of the column header within the Google Sheet. So that needs to match exactly. And then it needs to be surrounded by 2 curly braces on both sides. And that will tell the tool this is a variable that needs to be replaced. So let's go ahead and copy the share link for this document, this template. So we'll go to share, copy link, and then go back to our app here, paste that in there, save that out, and then once that is saved, it'll load all of the variables and show you which ones are matching and which ones aren't. We can see that we have the date and name only in the document, not in the spreadsheet, and that's because we have this overview tab selected. So let's go ahead and move to certificates, which is actually where our data is. And then once this loads here, it'll tell us to save that template. It'll use that default template that we've already saved, so we can just save that again. And then this time we should see that both of those variables are matching, in which case they are, so we're good to go. Now for any row here that doesn't include any of this information to the right of date, if that is all blank, then it'll regenerate those, so we can click generate. That entire process will run again, and we are now off to the races with generating documents from new rows in Google Sheets. The only other thing to cover at this point would be the automations. So when we go over to the right-hand sidebar here, there is an automation section, and for running without us coming in here and generating or clicking the generate button, we can toggle this on, and the default option for the tab that you select will be dependent upon what type of tab that is. So there is an on form submit automation, so that will trigger if this is a tab that is linked to a Google form. It will allow you to select that option, and then in which case every time a form is submitted, it'll generate that document for you without having to do anything. If there is no form attached to this tab, then we need to run it on a schedule, and then we can run that every 10 minutes. And then every 10 minutes, basically what will happen is it'll go through the spreadsheet. Any row within the spreadsheet that doesn't have an output doc URL here, it will generate for all of them for every 10 minutes that it runs. And that's about all you need to know about generating documents from new rows in your Google Sheet. I hope you get a ton of value out of this tool, and if you do, please like and subscribe, as we will be coming out with more cool stuff in the future.